In part one. For sake of time, I cut it short so I could find the passage we were looking for, and we've arrived. And we were told how the Edomites and the children of Chittim, the Romans, became one people. So continuing in part two, let's get right to it. And it says, at that time, in the 5th year, the children of Israel had passed over Jordan, which is Jordan, Hebrew term for Jordan. And after the children of Israel had rested from their war with the Canaanites, at that time a great and severe battle rose between the children of Edom and the children of Chittim. And the children of Chittim, or the Romans, fought against Edom. And Abianus, king of Chittim, went forth in that year. And that is in the 31st year of his reign, and at the great force with him and the mighty men of the children of Chittim, he went to Seir, or Syria, to fight against the children of Esau. And the children of Edom heard of his report, and they went forth to meet him with a heavy people and a strong force, and engaged in battle with him in the field of Edom. And the hand of Chittim prevailed over the children of Esau. And the children of Chittim slew the children of Esau, 200 or 20,000, and all the children of Esau fled from before them, meaning they ran from before the children of Esau. And the children of Chittim pursued them, and they reached Hadad, king of Edom, who was running before them, and they caught him alive and brought him to Abianus, king of Chittim. And Abianus ordered him to be slain, and Hadad, king of Edom, died in the 48th year of his reign. And the children of Chittim, all right, I didn't lose my place? Okay. The children of Chittim continued their proceeding, and they smote them with great slaughter. I read that. And he said, the children of Chittim ruled over Edom. And Edom became under the hand of the children of Chittim, and they became one kingdom from that day. See that? The children of Chittim, or the Romans, and the Edomites became one people, one kingdom from that day. And at that time, they could no more lift up their heads. Their kingdom became one. They're repeating it so y'all get it clear. That it became one with the children of Chittim. So this is where that began. All the way back then. This is why these alliances are still intact today, because they're spiritual alliances. This is where the dragon and all of those who rebelled against the Most High and his law and wanted to wage war against him, as you saw, this is what they came under. And we understand that the children of Rome, who destroyed Jerusalem and sent us into captivity around the world, into Europe, showing you that the Edomites were behind them. I've seen where they were Edomite Caesars in the Roman Empire. You know, some of those Roman Caesars, and those, I guess they call them king. And you know what I mean? So this is something that you can't dispute. Now this is important because of a lot of reasons. It's important because of the fact that the prophecy concerning the beast, right? Let's look at the Old Testament for it first. All right. It's in the first year of Belshazzar, king of Daniel, had dreams, and visions of his head upon his bed. And then he wrote them in a dream and told the sum of the matters. And Daniel spoke and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, 4 winds of heaven strove upon a great sea. And the 4 beasts came from the sea, diverse one from another. The first was like a lion, had eagle's wings, and I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked. And it was lifted up from the earth, and made to stand upon the feet as a man. And that was Nebuchadnezzar when the Most High humbled him. And you read the story where he was, lost his mind temporarily, and he was living, eating grass out there with all of his oxen and all of his cattle, living like an animal. You know what I mean? And he was out there living among them. And that's what happened to the first. He was the first head of the kingdoms in terms of worldwide empires after Egypt and Assyria fell. All right, so he took up all of their kingdoms, and Egypt and Assyria were under his control. And he beheld the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth and made to stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to him. He repented, if you know the story. And behold, another beast, second like a bear, and it was raised up on its side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the mouth of it. And if we notice that about the Persians, you had the Persians mixed in them with it. You had the Assyrians mixed in with it, and you had the Medes or the Iranians mixed in with it. So it was the Medo-Persians, but they had annexed or conquered, which really without a fight. It's just that the Assyrian Empire sort of just changed it, because no one literally beat the Assyrian Empire. And if you know the story, the way Sennacherib came after King Hezekiah, the Most High destroyed his army. The Most High sent an angel that killed 185,000 of his soldiers in one night. So that's the story of that. And that's also in the book of 2 Kings. Long story short, it tells you here that this second beast, which was the Persians, he says that he told them to arise and devour much flesh. And they pretty much amassed the biggest kingdom known to man to that day. And after this, and behold, another like a leopard. And you know, a leopard is one who attacks unprovoked. He's just wild, just a prayer, always in prayer and hunting mode. And he had a back. Upon the back, he had 4 wings of a fowl. And the beast also had 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. And this is the story of Alexander the Great. When he died prematurely, his kingdom was divided by 4 of his generals. Right? And he was telling you that the last one came up, which was the little horn. And before him, the first 3 of the horns were plucked up by the roots. And it said this horn had eyes like a man and had a mouth speaking great things. And that's America. That's the last kingdom with the little horn that came up, which is still an empire, still has all the authority of the other ones before him, and it's still part of this big beast that was like a lion, had eagle's wings, and it was like a bear, and had feet of a bear, and all of that. This is all saying that this one creature is one creature, but he just had 4 different heads, and it had different wings, and it had all of these different characteristics. Point being that it is still one empire. And America revived it. That's why we got the Egyptian pyramid on our money, and we got the Roman eagle, and we got the Edomite eagle on it, and the whole 9 yards. So it's understood. The Apollo situation from the Rome, and all of the different things from Persia we can't even count. You know what I mean? The way our system of worship comes from the Persians. Well, at any rate, going back to the 4th kingdom, then we can understand too that this 4th kingdom is, let's go to where he talks about the feet in the miry clay. I don't want to bumble that, so let's look at that. Let's look at the meat in the miry clay. Right, and let's go to miry clay, right? That should be in there. That's in Daniel. Let's take the miry out. Let's take the miry out. All right. All right, here we go. Okay. Oh, that's not it. That's the one. That's a prophecy of the Messiah. So let's look at the clay again. All right, get rid of it. And now, the last one, right? And for as much as gold, stuff the bad breaking the servant good may not even happen to dream is certain. And the toes are very clear the kingship. No, that is the right one. It's about the statue. I'm sorry. Now let's go to it. Now he has a dream, and he goes to the dream, and he tells you that the dream is, he was so terrifying. He had all of the Chaldeans or the sorcerers from his kingdom to try to interpret the dream. None of them could. Daniel came in and interpreted it. And after he showed him, he interprets the dream. He tells him, he says, "O king, what thou sawest," and by the way, he tells him everybody that couldn't interpret it, he was going to kill them. You know what I mean? And he did. So, but instead, the ones that he didn't kill, he made them all serve Daniel. Daniel was pretty much the ruler under him. And he said, "Thou king, thou sawest, and behold, a great image. That great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. And this image's head was of fine gold, and his breast and arms of silver, and his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, and his feet part of iron and part of clay. And thou sawest till the stone was cut out without hands." Meaning that somebody cut it out, but it wasn't no hands cut it out. And smote the image upon his feet, showing you the Most High ain't a man in that respect. You know what I mean? This is not his Messiah part. This is his judgment part. And it smote the image upon the feet that were of iron and clay, and break them into pieces. Then was the iron and the clay and the brass and the silver and the gold, and broke into pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors. And the wind carried them away, and no place was found for them. And the stone was smote from the image, became a great mountain, and filled the whole earth. This is the dream. So he's saying that after he cut him away, the stone that smote the image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. So he's telling you that this stone that was cut out, that broke the statue in the feet and broke it to pieces, it's going to be a mountain on the earth, and everybody's going to flock to this mountain. Everybody's going to be under this mountain. So anyway, he interprets the dream. And he said, "Thou king, what thou sawest, a great image. This image whose brightness was excellent stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. This image's head was of fine gold, and his breast and his arm was silver, and his belly and his thighs were brass." So he goes on, and I read that already. He says, "Thou king, thou art the King of kings." He said, this is the interpretation. "Thou art the King of kings, for the God of heaven hath given thee kingdom, power, and strength, and glory. And whosoever the children of men dwell, the feast of the field, and the beasts of the field, and the fowls of the heaven hath he given into thine hand." I'll slow down, folks. I'm sorry. "And hath made thee ruler over them all. Thou art the head of gold." So he's telling you the head of gold. He said, "And after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule under thee." That would be the second and the third, both decreasing in value. And the fourth kingdom will pretty much not have any value. He said, "It shall be strong as iron, for as much iron breaketh in pieces, and subdueth all things." Meaning it's brittle, but it can bust your ass. "And at the end," excuse my French, "and at the iron that breaketh all of these things, shall it break in pieces and bruise. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided. But there shall be in it the strength of iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. And as the feet of toes were the part of iron and the part of clay, so shall the kingdom be partly strong and partly broken. Whereas thou saw the iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men." He's saying, where thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle. He don't tell you who they are, but he's saying they're going to mingle them seeds with the seed of men. So it's telling you that this is something outside of men that's mingling itself with men. And there's many ways to do that. There's in vitro fertilization, there's a test tube baby, that whole thing. Surrogate mothers. It's all kind of different ways. You know, or it's the ritualistic occult worship, the way you can just become one with the spirit and they take over you. But this is basically what they're saying, that the clay represents man because we were made from the clay of the earth. And iron, as the scriptures say, that angels were made out of a whisper of thunder or lightning, rather, and iron or steel. That's what a book I read, another book by Moses called the Book of Adam and Eve. That's what he says, how he made angels. Anyway, it says, in these days of these kings shall Yahweh of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. So he's saying after this last one, they're going to be destroyed. And the Most High going to set up his kingdom. So that's why you see such a difference in the way that we rule and the way that or the other kingdoms and the previous empires ruled. America is much more wicked, much more brutal, much more sophisticated, much stronger, much much more polarized. Like I said, we're an electric where it's 50 Republic, 50 Democrat. So the people, they don't mix iron with clay. In this instance, I would venture to say that the iron is that the demonic people mix with the clay, meaning the people they oppress, which is the Hebrews and the other people of color. All right, so let's go to the closing and the finishing of this, because I wanted to go back into Jasher, but for the sake of time, we're gonna close this out. So let's go into that. Having said that they were made of, the authority of the dragon. It tells you in Revelation. I believe that would be Revelation 13, and he says he saw. He stood on the sand of the sea, and he saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like a leopard, and his feet was like the same description. But he said, this one of the heads were wounded, and the deadly wound was healed, and all of the world wondered after the beast. And that's talking about the Roman Empire. The Edomites and the Romans and all of them were wounded because of the Khazarians and the barbarians that came over and took over the Roman Empire. The second leg, the one from Istanbul with Constantine and all of that. They tell you he got his mojo back. And he opened his mouth to blaspheme against Yahweh, and to blaspheme his name, his tabernacle, and them that dwell on the earth. And unto him was given to make war with the saints. That's the slavery, the affliction, the you know what I mean? They always talk about Christians. Ain't no Christians, trust me, ain't no Christians being persecuted nowhere on the earth. And if they are, it's not because they're Christians, because they're standing against some of the stuff that Christians are doing, like the homosexuality and all of the warmongering and all of that crap. You can't, under the guise of fighting against Christianity, at the same time take a stance that you're fighting for righteousness and justice and all of that. It's just, you know what I mean? It's a bait and switch, and it's a deception. And he said, they was given it, so this tells you that this is a war. Make no mistake. And I told you when this war goes all the way back to overcome them, and power was given over him over all kindreds. That's how you know it's an empire. In all tongues and all nations. This that head that was wounded. And then it says when it was healed, it says they worshiped the dragon, which gave power to the beast. Remember the iron mixed with the mirror clay? They worship the beast, and that's why we worship vampire movies and zombie movies and dragon movies and war and guns and battle. Everything dealing with death. Pharmaceuticals and sorcery and drugs. And he said they worship the dragon, which gave power unto the beast, and they worshiped the beast, saying, who was like unto the beast, and who was able to make war with it? It's just like America. Everybody think that America's invincible. America is invincible. There can't nobody beat America. We got almost $1 trillion budget in terms of defense and buying weapons and planes and bombs. But the Most High tells you that's not so. He says, after these things I saw an angel come down from heaven having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. That's a spiritual reference to the eagle. The eagle and the vulture and all of those things, the owl and all of those things we consider wild, those are considered unclean and hateful birds. We know that from the law because we were forbidden from eating and touching any of these birds. And he says that this place is the hold of every foul spirit. And it's a habitation of devils. We just read that where the dragon gives him his authority and his spirit. We're the king of porn, we're the king of violence, we're the king of incarceration, we're the king of all across the board. Abortions, you name it. And he heard another voice saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. He says, for her sins have reached heaven, and Yahweh hath remembered her sins. This is Babylon. Her plague shall come in one day. Well, let's give it into a little bit. Let's give it to the history. He says, her sins have reached heaven, and God remembered her iniquities. He says, now reward her as she rewarded you, and double according to her works, and the cup which he had filled to her double. How much she had glorified herself and lived deliciously. We see it, they're living with the champagne and the wine, the edibles, and how do you live deliciously? I've always thought that was funny anyway. You live deliciously. You eating all of the best food, driving in the best cars, living in the best houses. He's saying, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit as a queen, but yet I'm not a widow. That's just democracy. We're not a monarchy. And yet I shall see no sorrow, because we fight by the sword. And that's Esau. He told Esau that everything you get shall be by the sword. And therefore shall her plagues come in one day. So that scripture that we have in the onset, where he talks about let's go back there. Go back there. Will I judge? And that nation whom they shall serve in the 400 years, will I judge? So he's telling you this nation, this shows singular. It's not the whole world. This is this nation that has a 400-year history attached. He's saying this nation, who I just proven to you, because America get their heritage and lineage from the English, who get their heritage and lineage from the Germans, who get their heritage and lineage from the Romans. That's just fact. Anybody can look that up. That's a Google easy one for you. He's saying that this right here is going to come in one day. See that? One day. So that judgment he's talking about is going to come in one day. Mourning, famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. And the kings of the earth, because you notice that we're be styling on every kingdom on earth, flossing everything we got, bullying everybody. He said all of them are going to bewail her and lament for her when they see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for the fear of fear of her torment, or what they're meaning for their sake. They're going to be scared for themselves, saying alas, meaning that don't mean like, I've been waiting for it at last, or there's no T there. Alas, alas. That's sort of like a lamenting term. That great city, that mighty city, which shows geography, not a spiritual thing. What people think is Babylon or it's Ishmael. None of them, the kings of the earth, commit fornication with her. None of the kings of the earth buy any of the Catholics' merchandise or any of the Ishmaelites' merchandise. Merchandise of gold. We got all the gold, silver, precious stones, pearls, linen, silk, scarlet, metal, wood, manner of the vessels of ivory, all manner of vessels of the most precious wood and iron and marble, everything. Cinnamon, odors, ointments, oil, wine, flour, wheat, beasts, sheep, horses, chariots, slaves, and soul of men. When you look at all of the industries these people sell their souls to, and the politics and stuff that they have, and the drugs that they have, the addiction. I think souls of men is like that too. When you get addicted to a person, they can't operate their soul. They can't operate their free will, because the only thing they're preoccupied with is getting that drug. He said that great city that was purred with fine linen, white, purple, which is all stand for blue, and scarlet, red, white, and blue, decked with gold and all of the trimmings, the gold post that the flag stands under, and all of that crap. For in 1 hour, her riches have come to great. So great riches has come to nothing. With the music, piper tears of the earth. And he said, and the mighty angel took up a millstone and cast it in the sand, saying that with great violence the great city of Babylon be thrown down. So he's basically telling you that great rock that we read through in Daniel that was cut from the stone and smashed the feet, that's where that angel says in the bowls, let's go to it. Let's go to it. Go to it. Oops. Always does that. Great mountain. Still doing it. Stay in there, chump. Okay. And he said, the second angel of a great mountain, as it were a great mountain with burning, with fire, was cast into the sea. Now I want to see where he cast that. The wormwood. Where's the wormwood? It must be 9. We're going to get into that in the next study. The king over them, Apollo. But why is that important? Well, let's look. Let's look why that's important in the link to Christianity. Let's look to that in the link to Christianity. Apollos. Sorry about that. We got the S. There we go. Everyone saith, I am of Paul, and I of Apollos. For one saith, I am of Paul, and another, I am Apollos. Who then is Paul and who then is Apollos? Fair to say these two are close. I have planted, Apollos watered. Whether Paul or Apollos or Peter, that's what Cephas is. And he tells you, as touching our brother Apollos, I greatly desire him to come unto you with the brethren, but his will was not at all to come at this time, but he will come when he shall have a convenient time. So in other words, him and Paul are never there together, because this is his alter ego. And we're about to get into that later. But I was just wanted to clarify some things on who we are as our people, and the fact that going back to the Sephardim and the Ashkenaz, that's the other part. I got to the Sephardim and the Roman connection. Let's go to Ashkenaz. And I can simply do that and prove that, because they tell you the ones that come from Germany and that come from Russia are from the Ashkenaz tribe, Jewish tribe. Right? So let's go to the Table of Nations. Right? Here we go. The sons of Gomer, which is his firstborn, Jacob's firstborn, is Ashkenaz. That's what the Jewish Ashkenazi Jews. Those are the ones that are in Israel today. The one we had before, remember? They were going back for the biblical times, and let's go to where they were saying the Ashkenazim. Find out where it is. Here it goes. Historically, European Jews have been classified with two major groups: Ashkenazim, or the Germanics, meaning Germany, and Central European based in the Sephardim, though the Hispanics, meaning Sepharad, meaning Hispania or Iberia in Hebrew, denoting their Spanish and Portuguese. The whole southern captivity in South America and the islands was from the Spanish, Portuguese Jews, the Sephardics. The Americans, who were the Puritans, they were the Ashkenazim. So history bears this out. This is not just religious dogma and jargon. Not at all. And if you think that this is not going to happen, I just proved to you that Moses was black in the first video, the first part, and that we are America. You better understand that one day the whole reality of the earth is going to change, and we're going to come out with everything. Shalom.